made it part 3, the double DIY build. I thought real quick before we get into the build itself, we just take a quick peek at why we're building these tanks and who's moving into them. So we know the 750 is for these guys here coming out of the Amazon Jungle Aquarium. They're going to be going into the Amazonian Islands 750 gallon DIY build. So this is one side of the room. Let's see who's going into the 600. And of course, we can't forget about the 125 Asian Jungle Stream tank. These guys will be going into the 600 gallon. And it's just going to be the new and improved Asian Jungle Stream tank. Even though, like I've said before, it doesn't look like a stream when it's so thick. So I'll figure out a name. But at any rate, all the same fish, a lot of the same scape, just bigger and better. And maybe less of a jungle so you can actually see things. All right, let's get to the build. All right, so we know why we're building these things. Let's check out the progress. All right, all that sawdust and wood scraps and lack of a big pile of wood means we must have made some progress. Okay, the 600 gallon is completely framed out. Everywhere we were talking about before, we were going to get those butt edges for the plywood to go up to. Well, they're all done, so it's all ready. We've got all of our top bracing up here, with the exception of the pieces that go across from front to back. But those don't really go on to the very end. They need to be thoroughly coated because they're exposed to moisture, and then they get bolted in at the end once I'm done putting in the glass and all that good stuff. As you can see, my work is being inspected, and it looks like it's passing muster over here with my assistant. But yeah, so all that wood didn't just go to finishing off the 600 gallon, it also... Okay, so that wood went to framing up the 750. As you can see, we've made a good start on it. This is used up the last of the previous batch of wood, and there's a new batch, so we'll be finishing the 750. We'll get all the framing done. Then it'll be time for plywood, but you kind of get the gist of how the tank is set up. You know, we went ahead and 45'd over on these corners to handle the poles, and that'll leave us a nice conduit in the back for wires and everything to go through. Spectre seems to be laying down on the job, but we won't hold her any problems with that. But yeah, so nice deep tank, got that nice shape to the back. I really can't wait to scape this thing. Yeah, this is the one where I really have an idea in my head that I think would be cool, and this is got the distance front to back to accommodate it, so it should be pretty wild. But at any rate, I have a bunch more wood out there, so I am going to finish framing up the 750. All right, I know some of you might be noticing a theme here. Yep, more wood. But the reason I'm showing you this time is because the composition of the wood has changed. Just a couple 2x4s left. That means framing is almost completely done on both tanks. Lots and lots of 3/4 inch birch plywood. That means it's time to start skinning the inside of the tank where they really start to look like an aquarium. So, enough talking, back to work. All right, more sawdust, more scrap, and a fully completed 750 gallon, well, sorry, not fully completed, fully framed, completed, gosh. Yeah, fully framed 750 gallon and, you know, double DIY build. Of course, we still have the fully framed 600 gallon. So, that means it is time. It is time to start cutting the plywood and framing the inside, or skinning the inside with plywood, just like you see here on the bottom. We'll have the same 3/4 inch birch all the way around the sides, and then all the way around the sides here. And then once that's done, it'll be time to basically fill screw holes everywhere. So we'll put a little bit of a body filler in every screw hole so that we don't have any compression over time. And then on top of the body filler, so everywhere there's a screw hole, like these lines, try to get them lined up so we can just do strips of fiberglass. And then every corner, like, you know, where we go up, where we have a seam right there. So fiberglassing this, and then, you know, fiberglassing over all these screws, and up on the verticals as well. So when we're done, every surface that has any sort of imperfection, like a seam in the plywood or the screws or the edges, that'll all be fiberglass with chopped matte strand fiberglass, and of course resin. And then once that's done, go ahead and drill the hole. So on this aquarium, obviously my only real convenient side is this side here. So the drains and the returns will all be on the same side, and that'll be the same for both the 600 gallon too. They'll all be on this side, and then they'll all flow down underneath plumbing. So we'll bring the before I build the sump, I'll go ahead and bring the drain plumbing around the back and over, to the drain side, and then we'll move across, and then we'll return. We'll do the shorter run with the return. Since with the drain, we have a gravity working for us, and we oversized the drains compared to the return. So then on the return, we have a shorter plumbing run by having the return pump here versus over here, and then that allows us to get the most out of the pump. So you don't end up pushing water through lots of pipe. Okay, that's the end of framing. Oh, we got the ladder here. We get a little bit of a top-down view, get an idea of the 750, and keeping in mind I'm a 6 foot tall individual, and I can't even come anywhere near reaching the back. So it is a deep tank, 5 feet deep on this guy, 6 feet wide, and then 6x4 on the 600. So yeah, framing is done, and it's time to start skinning it. Back to work. Ooh, part 3 is starting to get exciting. What do we have here? Lots and lots and lots of pond shield, and the first installment of Fluorite Dark, and this is just for one of the aquariums. Obviously these massive aquariums, they can get expensive trying to use this sort of substrate, planted substrate. So it'll be a mix of this and some other stuff. And I'm just taking advantage of sales, Black Friday stuff, coupons I have, you name it, to try to beg, borrow, and steal enough of this to get the right level of substrate and make the tank look good. But enough of this stuff. Let's go check the progress on the tanks. All right, this is the stage where they really start looking like something. I am pretty pumped, had a couple of good days of work on the tanks, and well, let me show you. Okay, the 600 gallon. Now that is looking like an aquarium. Only the back panel is actually screwed in. The rest of them, for once, I actually got the cuts good enough that they fit very, very snug. So that's always nice. That makes, so with these tanks, you can make up for inefficiencies or deficiencies in certain places. So if you don't have the best seam ever, you can make up for it with body filler and fiberglass and extra layers of chop mat. But when you get them all nice and tight, that just makes the next part of the build that much easier. And the 600 came out great. This thing is a tank, and the seams are tight, and it's going to make the next stage go faster, which means it's going to be faster to get this thing up and running. But the important thing right now is, look, we have our sides in, which means we can measure for the front glass. Because until you have the sides in, and you can sort of account for a little bit of fiberglass, you really, it's risky to order the glass because it's tempered glass. It has to be baked, so it's it is what it is. There's no trimming it down or anything like that. But we now know what those dimensions are, and on the 750, we're in the same spot. Now, even though you see those two panels there aren't in there, and I haven't screwed these in, the fact that I have these here, and once the battery's charged, if I get them screwed in, I can then take the measurements here and go ahead and get the glass ordered for both tanks at the same time. So that's pretty exciting stuff, because you saw we've got substrate coming, I've got other substrate coming, there's rock amassing, there's wood amassing, there's all kinds of things going on. I'm trying to figure out exactly what lights I want for these aquariums. I'm thinking of the kind of the low profile like I used on Predator Bay. Those worked out pretty good for me. So I'm looking at the current Planet Pro Plus, and I'm looking at the Fluval 3.0s, running the numbers on them, seeing what I think, trying to read some reviews, see which one's the most cost effective, all that good stuff. But yeah, we're making serious progress. As you can tell, these are really starting to look like tanks. So, I'll get these screwed in, I'll get these measured, I'll get the glass ordered. You see the pond shield's already here. I have the fiberglass, so we're gonna be rocking and rolling. I think they're really starting to look like something now, and I think by part 4, oh my gosh, they are gonna be really looking like serious tanks. And I think it's time to actually start putting some serious thought into, nailing down the exact plan for the sumps. I have a pretty good idea how I want to do it, but now is the time to get it all figured out. Oh, and I've already ordered the plumbing part, so plumbing's on its way. And oh my God, hang on. The greatest thing ever on BRS, I found that they finally have like a nut, like a handheld nut you can use on the bulkheads to screw them down, to tighten them down. That is always the biggest pain in the butt for these builds with me, is trying to get those bulkheads the right tightness with, they're in between the supports of the tank, and trying to use a big wrench on a 2-inch, well, actually it's more than 2 inches. 2 inches the inside diameter. The actual nut on the outside is probably like 3 inches or whatnot. So it's a real chore. So I ordered those in every size because who knows, you never know. They're not very expensive, and man, what a godsend that is. I hope they work as good as I think they're going to work. But at any rate, all that's coming. So the next stages of this are going to get really excited. We got fiberglass coming, we have pond shield coming, we have glass coming, we have plumbing going in, we have framing out and insulation of the sumps. Whew, lots of stuff to do. Plus we're building up all kinds of materials for inside the tank, so we can hopefully, once they're water tested, we can really hit the road, or hit the I'm too excited. We'll just get to the aquascape quickly because it'll be we'll have everything ready, Okay, well, stay tuned for part 4 because we're making some really good progress here, and these are going to be some special tanks.